All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of On Point and West Point. My name is Recky, and this is Emily. We are still in day 3, and this is episode 12, I believe. And while we were downstairs reading, I remembered the TV was going to become active at noon, so I brought her upstairs to sit in the chair and watch some TV, and as it turned out, they ran an episode of Woodcraft on Living TV, and because of that, I was able to get her 2 levels of Carpentry, and the book became obsolete anyways. So, as you can see here, she's got Carpentry level 2, which is more than we need. The problem is because the book became obsolete, she doesn't have the highest skill bonus. So the highest skill bonus you can get from reading an entire book is a multiplier of 3, I believe. And until we get Carpentry book 2, which is what's required for levels 3 and 4, we will not be able to add to this multiplier, because as she's reading the level 1 and 2 books, she keeps saying that the book is obsolete. So it's unfortunate, but apparently we're going to retain this little bit of an experience boost that we started with, and that makes me rather happy. So I'm going to let her watch through the news to alleviate some of her boredom here, and let her sit in a chair because she's still a little tired. She didn't get much sleep last night, and that'll help her mood a little bit. And then we'll get her a snack, and then we're going to start breaking down all of this stuff around us. And oh look, there must have been music or something because her unhappiness is going down. And the last channel is pause. Let's see what we can grab there. All right, perfect. And now we'll turn this TV off. There's not much point in it being on. We don't get another broadcast until 6 p.m. This is off, which is good. And we're going to head downstairs. Let's turn on both of these radios because that'll make her happy as well while she's working. This one is on the music channel, and this one is, I think, on the emergency broadcast channel. So we'll start hearing the hourly emergency broadcast and see how her boredom had started to go down just from being in proximity while it went on. So while she's eating, we'll have her do that. All right, so now let's get her disassembling stuff. And you want to be careful what you're focused on. If you're focused on an item that's a furniture item, it will actually show you the name, such as wooden bar stool. However, when it says, let me get to one here. Here we go. Disassemble object, you are focusing on a door or the floor. And usually the order they appear in the list is the layer that they are on. So the things at the top are usually... Actually, let me double check that before I go any further with that. Let's get rid of this door because I want a clear line of sight anyways. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try to disassemble the wall. So I am trying to disassemble this piece of wall where you're going to select the first item. And yes, so the second item would have been the floor. So it's the order that they're laying. Sometimes I won't open this room up and sometimes I will, but since for demonstration purposes, I wanted to show you guys how this worked. I'm going to open it up and it's going to give us a bit more line of sight. Sometimes I'll leave it closed and I will open just this up because then you can see through very easily. Now this particular item right here, you really can't get to. See how she's walking through it? This is a door arch or a pillar, and those can only be removed via sledgehammer. But right now what we want to do is we want to go through and we want to break down all these bar stools. we're going to break down all of these chairs. And a word to the wise, if like me you like to use fast forward, always wait until you hear the first hit before you fast forward. Fast forward will automatically turn off unless you turn it on while you're doing nothing. And then it seems to get stuck and time just passes. So if you're using it to fast forward through crafting or things like this that are very grinding, I recommend you wait until you hear the hit before you start, because there have been plenty of times my character has walked towards something and I've hit fast forward assuming she was going to break something down, and then she just never made the first hit and time just kept passing and passing. And there we go, we got another carpentry level. So I'm betting that if we look at her skills, she has lost the carpentry bonus. But you can see why I wanted to have a bonus going when we did this, because we cleared this whole downstairs and we got a level out of it. And so now she's level 3. Oh, we do still have a bonus going. All right, so that being the case, we'll just wait for the news to finish real quick. And then we will head upstairs and break down all the tables up there. Great. Temporary communications failure. Okay. If you pay attention to the news, they will warn you when the helicopter is coming over. And they will also warn you when the power grid is getting ready to go. Crap. Now see, that's exactly what we didn't want to do. And that's because I wasn't paying attention. So now I have to rebuild this wall. And her level is not really high enough to do it. So it's going to be a bad wall, unfortunately. But we have to close it up so weather doesn't get in. And I'll just have to upgrade it as time goes on. Well, I'm glad I caught that on film. So at least you can see what happens. There's a couple of times you will break through a wall during reno. One is just because of accidents, like what just happened. I wasn't focused on the right thing. I was talking to you guys, so I wasn't really paying super close, attention to what I was doing. And I accidentally busted out a wall. The other time is when you go to demolish something that corners to a wall, you will demolish both areas. And I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. Let's not disassemble the object. We're trying to disassemble this chair. There we go. Be especially careful of things that lean up against the wall, like those chairs, because as you saw, it's really easy to take a wall out. And be careful that you're selecting the right thing. I don't want to take out this nice chair that I'm sleeping in. I just wanted to take out that wooden chair. I'm going to leave that table for now because that's the one that's got the radio on it. She's starting to get tired because of all the physical labor, but I don't want to put her to sleep yet. It's way too early. The answer is to go out and get vitamins for her if we don't have any. I'm pretty sure we don't. But the problem is we will encounter zombies if we go try to clear the pharmacy, and she's tired. So it's kind of a catch-22 at this point. See? I walked her, I fast forwarded, nothing happened. There we go. I love that you can sight on something and they will walk towards it. And that is something that also works pretty well with true actions. But I do, while we're here, want to show you a small bug that happens with, or not necessarily a bug, but I guess we'll call it a glitch or an idiosyncrasy that happens with true actions sometimes. And it's something you should be aware of because there's an easy workaround for it. So I'm sure sooner or later it'll wind up being fixed. It's not really a big issue. Boy, that wall looks really dodgy, doesn't it? She's such a bad carpenter at this point. Okay, so when you have True Actions installed, you can right-click most items and select Sit. Now, that's only true of things that are facing in certain directions, and that's because the artwork is actually a 2D background, and from certain directions, your character will appear to be floating. So the actual sitting animation only works from certain directions where the animation is going to be clean. Now, when you're sitting, you can interact with things in your environment. But when you do that, sometimes you can't reach and sometimes you can. And when you do that, if you're in a position where you can reach, she'll stand up and sometimes say, "Don't push me." And when you go to sit back down, she'll back into the location and stand there instead of actually sitting. Now see, I can't get her to actually get up in this instance. I'm not really sure why. So we're gonna make her move. She's not changing until she gets the bar. I don't know why it's not doing this now. I wanted to show you how this worked, because this happens to me a lot. But who knows, maybe they updated it already. A lot of times what'll happen is if you're standing here and you hit sit when you're watching TV, they'll back up and they'll stand. And then when you try to move, because you assume that they're standing, they're stuck and your movement keys don't work. And it's because they're really sitting, but the animation is still going. And so what you have to do is you have to right click and select sit again so that the animation completes. Then you can stand up and move. And I don't know why it's not working, but I'll try to catch it at another time. And maybe I can show you exactly what I mean. Now what I'm going to do though is I'm going to go through and I'm going to start picking up all these supplies, because we are going to need them to start building our water hut. And that's also going to require a bit of planning. And you know, you don't have to plan if you don't want to. You can very easily just put it wherever is convenient to you. But as I said in one of the earlier episodes, I've now gotten to a point where I actually am kind of paying attention to how things look, and my end result, while it's dodgy in the middle, my end result tends to look pretty good, and I tend to be pretty happy with things. And so I like to plan things out. I like to think about how things are going to work, where I'm going to put things, what's going to happen. Now, I'm going to put these planks and things over here for now. And we're going to keep picking up planks and nails at the moment. And I'm going to leave the scrap wood where it is, because we're going to take the scrap wood upstairs and we're going to put it in the wood stove and get started on replenishing that. But we want to see what kind of store of planks we have now that we've broken everything down. So we're just going to kind of run around. And a lot of times what I will do is I will use the place command, and I will, so you right click an item and you just select where you want it, and then you multi-click, and as you can see by the bar overhead, she just kind of puts it all in one place. And I find that that's really convenient. Oh darn it, I think she just picked all those up. Well, that's alright, we'll pick these guys up too. And we'll start getting a stockpile in a different location so I don't accidentally do this again. Okay, so we'll come here, we'll loot all these guys. I don't want to be in range of this because I don't want to pick this back up again, but you can actually go back and restack on top. Just try to get them close together. Click however many times you have planks in your inventory or whatever. Let's get all those out of the bag here. And then there you go. And as you can see, there's a lot of things you can do with planks when they're on the ground. You can make a mortar and pestle, which you need if you want to do herbalism. You can make weapons, spiked planks, drilled planks. You can turn them into sticks. You can make traps. You can, if you have certain mods installed, you can create portable items that go into the various different vehicles and stuff. All of which can be pretty useful. And I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. One is that I want to see what kind of an inventory we have of planks from the things that we broke down. And another is to clean the room up, because one of the next things that we can do then is build, oh, I didn't mean to do that, is build a sitting area here so she doesn't have to go upstairs to watch TV all the time. Alright, let's see if we can actually get the right things into her inventory. And while we're here, let's eat this sugar cookie. Since we dropped it on the ground anyways. Alright, we're carrying a lot of scrap wood, so I'm going to take it upstairs and I'm going to put it into the stove. And while we're here, I'll just show you how the stove works, and I'll collect these planks. So the stove, and this is true of fireplaces, charcoal grills, anything of that nature, is a little odd. Because if you look at it, it has an inventory like a normal stove. But if I grab this scrap wood and I put it in here and I turn this stove on, you will burn this wood up without getting any fuel out of it. It just burns, like as if you're cooking it. If that even happens. I could verify, but I don't want to waste my wood. So we'll verify that later on. But if you right-click the stove and you choose add fuel, you can put into it things that are considered fuel. Now you want to be very careful when doing this, and I'm going to show you why. I have a plank in my inventory now, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab some literature. So let's grab this map. Let's grab a book. And do we have any blank paper? We do not. Okay, so unfortunately I'll have to show you that bit later. But if you come over here and you have a bunch of stuff in your inventory and you select add fuel and you choose all 35, it's going to actually put into the oven as fuel all of the items you are carrying that can be burned. And then below this all, it will list off what those items are. So in this case, my Carpentry book 3, which I really don't want to lose, is here. I have a plank. I don't want to lose that either because it takes effort to take wood and saw it into planks. I'd rather keep the planks I already have. And I have scrap wood that I do want to go ahead and put in as fuel. So I don't want to use all 35 or it'll use these items as well. I want to go here to scrap wood and choose all. And then she'll start trying to pull the scrap wood out of her bag. And if she can get all of the scrap wood out of her bag and into her inventory, she will load it into the fireplace. But as you can see, she didn't have enough weight allowance left to do that. So she just stalled in the middle of what she was doing. So what I have to do is drop a bunch of things. And apparently also, I brought the maps over to test, but notice that the maps didn't show up on the fuel list. They weren't consumable, I guess. So that didn't happen. All right, so we're just going to drop a bunch of this stuff. And then we're going to see if we can get this 10 wood out of her inventory, and we can. And now when we go over here and we choose add fuel, it's only showing the scrap wood. And it's all in her inventory, so she's immediately going to start dumping it into the oven. Now, you may think that we put it inside the oven. But notice the oven is empty. The add fuel command does something else with it. And if I pick this oven up and I move it to another location, the fuel will be gone. So if I look at it now and I go to fireplace info, it says I have 46 hours and 12 minutes of fuel. That's because that's how much scrap wood we put in it, 46 hours of scrap wood. But if I pick this up and move it over here, the next time I look at this fireplace info, it will say 0. And there will be no fuel in it. So be sure before you put fuel into your fireplaces or your, not your fireplaces, but your wood ovens, that you are sure they're in the location you want, or you're going to lose all of your effort. Another thing is be careful what you put in them, because as you can see, there's no getting the items back after you use the add fuel command. So if I had added the book as fuel, that book would be gone. All right, let me pick back up all this stuff that I had to drop, and then what we're going to do is put away the books and things that we picked up, because she can't read that carpentry book yet anyways, and we don't want to run the risk of burning them. And then we're going to just go around and we're going to start cleaning up the planks from up here. No, don't take the radio. Take that plank. And I'm grabbing planks and leaving the scrap wood. There's no sense in carrying the scrap wood downstairs when we'll have to take it back upstairs in order to put it in the oven anyway. So we may as well just leave it where it is. All right. See how many planks we've got now in this pile. Not many, unfortunately, only 21. $23 after this, I guess. No, darn it, that's not what I wanted to do. Now, if you do what I just did and you accidentally drop something out of scope, don't select from here because it'll start picking up all these things. Just right-click the one that you put in the wrong place and choose grab. And as you can see, it takes it out of the count on the ground, but it doesn't actually pick up any of the others. So now my nice neat pile of planks is preserved. I'm going to go grab this one last plank over here. So it looks like we have about 24 planks. And that's definitely not going to be enough to even get a small structure up. So we're going to have to go out and cut some wood. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go here. And we're going to start dropping off and replacing some of the tools that, yeah, it looks like we took everything out of the toolbox, so we need to put it all back in. So we need a propane torch, we need a saw, a crowbar, a hammer, a pipe wrench, let's put the welder's mask in there, a screwdriver, and a wrench. Alright, so this is what is required in the car toolbox. Now we're going to put it in the car and we're going to leave it there. And now we should have all the tools ready to go for when we go out. And then she's carrying a whole bunch of other stuff that we can put in here, because we're going out to cut wood and she is not going to need any of these tools to do that. What she's going to need is an axe. So we're going to take this wood axe. What kind of condition are we in? Looks like it's brand new practically, so let's equip this in both hands. Let's put this crowbar and these nails away. And I can finally ditch these darts we've been carrying for a while. And then another thing that I like to do, and your mileage may vary, is I don't like to have to unfavorite stuff and empty my book bag, but I like to have a book bag to carry stuff. So I'm going to drop her book bag here. And now as you can see, it says Emily's school bag is here on the floor. And I'm going to go grab one of these empty book bags and put it on. simply because it gives her more carrying capacity for logs and things. And since we know we don't have a cart or anything of that nature, having the ability to carry more wood is going to be useful. And we're not going anywhere. What I'm going to do is pull the car around to where we're wood cutting, so she has a short trip to load the trunk. We're going to come here and we're going to cut. And she is already tired, ridiculously so, so she's not going to be happy that we're doing this. And we're going to have to watch her health, because there comes a point where they're overtired and their health is really bad. They start to lose health, but we need to get wood processed so we can start building our water reclamation structure. And the reason you want to start early is because, as you saw, the level 1 walls are very poorly constructed. You don't get level 2 walls until carpentry level 4 or 5, and you don't get level 3 walls until carpentry level 7. All of which is well and good for building the shell of your structure, but which doesn't help you at all with actually getting water reclamation up. And I will explain why in a moment. Let's just get these little trees all done. And then we're going to sit her in the car and let her rest while I explain to you how this works. See how slow she's moving? I don't want anything to come up on her while she's this tired, so. And I don't believe she has any vitamins on her, does she? No. We need to make sure we find some vitamins and we give them to her. So we're going to speed up and we're going to let her rest a bit. So this part of a structure I call the outer shell. And the outer shell of a structure is just the walls. It doesn't do anything for actually providing shelter because it has no roof. Now, once you build the shell, you have to roof the structure in order to provide shelter for your characters. And you know what? Time is passing, but she's not getting any better, so I'm just going to take her inside. In order for a water reclamation project to work, you have to install rain barrels, and the rain barrels have to be above the sink so that the rainwater comes into the barrel and trickles down to the sink. And that means that you either have to build them on the roof of your structure, which is often impossible because of the nice roof lines that the developers have built onto these buildings, or you have to build a small exterior structure. So in this case, what I would do is build a little shed out back here. It would need a roof, and then I would put the rain barrels on top of it so the rainwater could come in. I would plumb the sink to them, and then the water would trickle to the sink. And there's a few caveats to this, which I will point out as we go along. But one of the biggest issues is that you cannot get a roof on unless you have stairs. You have to have stairs to be able to get up onto the roof to put the roof on. And it takes carpentry of level 6 to get stairs. So that's not something that you're going to get by just sitting around. You actually need to level your character. And that takes a bit of work. And if you don't want to have to grind, which, like I said, I really dislike doing, then the best possible thing you can do is actually give yourself reasons to use your carpentry skill. Anytime you disassemble something or take something apart, you get carpentry skill. Anytime you saw logs that you have cut from trees, you get carpentry skill. And anytime you build something, you get carpentry skill. You also get it from watching TV. As you can see, my character is exhausted, and since we're in a chair that's not super good, I think I'm actually going to put her to bed early and sleep her through the night. I normally wouldn't do that because she'll miss the midnight broadcast, and that's missing an opportunity for skills. But with her this exhausted, she's also bored and depressed, and her mood is starting to tip in the negative. I want to be able to keep her active the next day. So I'm going to go ahead and sleep her, and we will start day 4, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.